Laura, for Wednesday?
Yes, should be fine.
Okay.
I don't think I have that link. And like, do I need anything in order to be the host or whatever it is I'm doing there?
I mean, you'll need the link, so I will get that to you.
Okay.
It's more like be prepared. Oh, come on. Be prepared to be prepared. Sorry. Come on. Be prepared. Okay, got it. Okay, sorry. You should just have your browser open, so if people are opening and like referring to things in the panel, you could just drop links in. That's kind of how I do it.
Okay.
Does that help at all?
So I'm in there as an attendee.
Yeah, like, you're gonna be there, but you can like introduce yourself. You can be like, hey, I'm here. I'm one of the organizers and we'll be sharing resources, blah, blah, blah. You can feel free to do all of that.
Okay.
Be our plant, but you can be honest about being our plant.
Justin, you can probably mention that, you know, you're one of our Rosebud Bruin board members.
That's cool. The usual spiel.
All right, Laura, were you going to share the YouTube link for this broadcast with us so we could take a look at it too?
I am.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to get to without being too disruptive. Yes.
Well, while you're doing that, I can tell a story.
Yeah, story time.
Oh my gosh. So I watched the documentary again this weekend because I was trying to think of questions. And so I invited my dad to watch it with me. And it was such a powerful experience because my dad is originally from Tucson, Arizona, and his family owned a store growing up. And so it was just so cool. Like you could totally see him nodding while a lot of the stories that they were sharing, and it totally resonated with him. And it sparked like such a great conversation about his upbringing. So it just
I know he's from Tucson.
Yeah, he's a Wildcat, so still Pac-12, but but it was interesting. Sorry, what was that?
No, go ahead.
Laura, sorry, did you say something?
I was just saying, you sports people.
I had asked him about whether he experienced any racism because, you know, Arizona, but it was interesting because he was saying his family store was on like the side of town where it was mostly Asians and Latinos. And so as a result of that, he said he didn't really experience any racism because they were all minorities. Like all of the white people were on the other side of town. But even he talked about how his family store like did that credit thing too. Because I did not know this, but there were cotton fields in Arizona.
Wow.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not know that. Okay. That's so interesting.
So, I mean, this film just keeps on giving.
How'd you guys end up in Hawaii?
My dad got a teaching gig out here.
Oh.
And then he met my mom out here, who was out here getting her teaching credentials.
Okay. Is her family from Hawaii?
No, she's from Hong Kong.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was also very interesting about, like, you know, talking
about
the
immigrant experience. God. Is there a fucking shooting?
Justine, welcome. Welcome to the VU alert system.
Is this a normal occurrence?
It's not that frequent.
I'm like having a little bit of PTSD because I was in class at Hopkins when there was a shooting across the street at the hospital. Oh. Like everybody's phone blew up and they were like, stay in your class, nobody come out, this is a lockdown. And I was like, holy shit, I'm getting the fuck out of Baltimore. And I did.
Well, I mean, this sounds bad, luckily, usually these shootings are very like between people who know each other. Sorry.
Yeah, that's great.
I know.
Monica, did you see that?
No, she wouldn't have seen it. It's because you're using Vanderbilt equipment.
Oh.
Yeah, and then
Monica, are you like so confused right now?
Okay, sorry. So an alert comes up on the screen.
It took up the whole screen. This
and
huge
then you have to
alert.
acknowledge it, and then you get an alert on your phone by text, and then by email, and then sometimes they call you.
It was a huge alert about a shooting on campus, and it took up the whole screen, and it won't go away until you click acknowledge.
And it's because you're on a Vanderbilt computer, like laptop?
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah. Yes. Sometimes I wonder, does the government affairs vice provost have to do things like, or whatever, vice chancellor, have to go and be like, hey guys, it'd be really nice if we had meaningful gun reform because we're having difficulty recruiting international students. Anyway.
Definitely a topic of conversation.
Okay, so you see these little things that show up on the side. So these are from YouTube comments. So Justine, as you're like chatting with people in the YouTube comments, they show up over here. And if Monica had asked a question over there, I could highlight it. And that's what she typed. There's you letting me know that there was a shooting. Anyway, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Laura, only you can move the questions over from comments to private chat.
I think so. So that's why I think it might be a good idea to be woohoo. And then from here, I can be like, hello, Justine and Monica, and it will show up here, but then we'll also show up over on YouTube.
Oh my gosh, my thing shows up on the big screen. Okay. I better be careful what I say then.
I can't. You might want to. Not overly careful though. And so what we can do is if we have like a Google document open, or we can have this open. I don't know how distracting it would be for Justine to have both open. I'm kind of like, you should do either StreamYard or YouTube, typically.
I think I'm just going to stick with YouTube because there is a lag between the StreamYard and the YouTube.
It's confusing. Yeah. Okay.
So
then we can have like a Google document open, because if you see a really good question, then one of us can grab it or retype it or copy paste or however it works. Because then we can repost it. Before we ask it, we can repost it in the comments so that it's easier, or go back and find it and highlight it.
Okay, yeah.
So a couple of things I was going to mention. I did hear back from Nancy, and she shared one that she said she could just use the private chat in StreamYard to pull questions while she's moderating.
Great.
And then 2, she also said that she would not be able to join until 7:30 p.m. Central Time.
That's fine.
And then 3, I was going to update your Google Doc, Laura, but I wasn't sure how your preferred formatting. So I thought I'd verbally tell you this, and then you can update it however you want to.
Yes, that's fine. Okay. So I have put her on. Okay, so she's just on for 7:30 and beyond.
Yeah.
For the very, very beginning opening, for anyone who let me back up. So Sophia is on her way. She's finishing up a phone call. But I think what we'll do is, to our folks, I will have her send out for people who registered through the Vanderbilt Eventbrite. I'll just have her send something out that says, like, if you have not had a chance to watch the film, please come at whatever it is, 6 o'clock Central. And if you'd like to watch the film ahead of time, here's the link to Canopy if you're in the Vanderbilt system and have a login. Or you can watch on PBS. And then folks who have not had a chance to watch it can then come get the Vimeo link that day and or a Canopy. So then on our end, people are clear that like there are multiple entryways into this. I think that might be the best way to do it, because one of the faculty members who's helping support this was like, I'm going to go ahead and watch it this weekend. But I'm wondering if, even though we're doing like this intro thing and context setting, mostly for the Vanderbilt people, would you still like to have a UCLA person give a welcome, which could be either of you, honestly?
I'm fine with maybe just as when you're doing the welcome, just to mention that this program is in partnership with UCLA.
I can definitely do that. Okay.
Or what do you think, Justine?
Yeah, I mean, because that's what I would say anyway. So.
Yeah. Okay, you're listed in my script. Should be fine. Okay, that's cool. And then is there a bio I could get for Nancy?
Yeah, I was just gonna share the link to her website. And then do you want me to also share the link to Professor Zhao too?
That would be great.
Okay.
Because I think I found a bio, but I'm not sure it's the bio.
Do you want me to drop it in your Google Doc or?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
And I'll just do like a briefer version. That makes sense.
Where do you want me to drop it in, Laura?
That's fair. Do you know actually the script?
I actually tried to open it and it said I didn't have access to it.
Rude.
I know.
Okay, just put it at the very bottom of the document and I'll transfer it over. That's great. Well, I hope no one died. Jeez.
Yeah, me too.
God.
Guns are so stupid. I just cannot fucking take it. Okay.
Agreed.
Yep. Fun fact, Justine, there's this book called Dying of Whiteness, and it's written by a Vanderbilt professor. I think he's medical school. Anyway, he does like public health stuff. And he
wait, is it John Metzel? Because I think that was the first story that I wrote was on him. Yeah, the latest one that's on the Vanderbilt website about gun violence.
Yeah.
I wrote that one.
Yeah. So anyway, it's really nice to have this cool white dude who does all this research who's like, yes, white people would rather die.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Racism, it's a hell of a drug. Anywho, good times. So I did come up with just a few draft questions, and I don't have one yet for Ben, who is the VU faculty member. I have to reread his bio quickly.
Are we supposed to come up with the questions for our own faculty? Was that something I was supposed to work on, Monica?
I think with all of us, we just talked about coming up with general panel questions. So I started to put some thoughts into that as well, but I also felt like these are just questions I personally had, so I didn't know.
Fine, because what we can do is we can basically like pass them on and be like, here, Nancy, these are some things you could ask, and these are some like jumping off questions.
So just so you know,
yeah,
I shared the run of show with Professor Zhao as well as Nancy.
Oh, good. That's good. I shared it with Ben as well.
Okay.
Yes, I think my questions are often just like what I'm curious about or what I want these other assholes to think about. So, what do I want people to hear?
Oh, totally. I feel like when you think of questions, it's more like planting for other opportunities.
Exactly. What were you going to say, Justine?
Nothing.
Okay. This is my question for Baldwin. Oh, look, God, it's so long. So sorry.
Well, sometimes you have to explain the context of the question before you ask it, so
I know.
they can get long.
I was like, I mean, isn't his father and grandfather, whatever, anyway, there in the South partly because the West was a shit show. So it's like,
I know there was a lot covered in that.
I know. Yeah. So that's my thought. And then I thought for Larissa, they deserve their own questions.
Who is Anonymous Otter? Is that you, Monica?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes, and I think you're Anonymous Dingo.
Oh yeah, I was like, I only see Dingle and Laura on this document.
Sophia.
Sorry, my car thing ended up taking an hour longer than planned.
Wow,
Okay.
being grown up is the best worst. Okay. I forgot to ask you, Sophia, if you could make overlays and backgrounds based on the Far East Deep South collateral rather than any of our school specific stuff.
Yeah, I have some templates ready to go.
Word. See, easy peasy. I told
Yay.
Monica, I'd be like, Sophia will do it. Okay, this is my question for Professor Zhao. It's not great yet. Lord, sorry. I came up with some draft questions, Sophia, but nothing for Ben yet, because I don't quite get his area of expertise.
I can send you the teach-in segment that he did so you can get a sense of what he could talk about, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay.
Also, now that he's like looking at the weaponization of the atmosphere, it's like, oof. It's a whole level. And the history of air conditioning. I assume it's all about racism and hoarding of resources.
I was like, I don't get it. Air conditioning.
Say more, Laura. Say more.
How could it not be? Anyway. So I put the draft questions just at the very end of that run of show document. I'll shift them into like the proper area, but I thought it might be good for you all to look at them and ponder and make any changes. We could like by tomorrow maybe send them to folks. Because I was thinking they can also ask each other questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I was thinking about Larissa's question, and I was
Yeah.
going to say,
Is it
you
good?
asked, well, you mentioned that it's her family story, but it's not her family story. It's her husband's.
Yeah.
So,
Spouse's family story. Yeah.
and then I shared some kind of themes on the bottom that I just haven't figured out questions around or
Yeah.
worded out the question, but
That's good. Okay.
I'll work on that.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think maybe for Ben, we could ask about the relative invisibility of Asian American stories, and particularly in the South.
I like that.
He grew up in like Louisiana and Atlanta, so he does have a very like
Be perfect for that question.
yeah, he has a very Southeast United States understanding, at least in his lifetime, of how those things have played out.
That's my question. Like, how come I only know about Asian people in New York and California? I don't know about Asian people in other parts of the U.S.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was getting at when I was writing down lack of awareness of these stories too.
I knew what you meant, Monica.
Okay, thanks.
Well, and that's part of it too, right? It's like there's always a focus on some of those like bigger port entries, and people forget. I mean, it's the same question about like, oh, why is there a big Kurdish population in Nashville? And not understanding like how communities of color and immigrant communities sort of like flock to the places where they have either pre-established places or they were just pushed there because no one else wanted them anywhere else, you know?
Mhm.
Well, I also wanted to ask if there was a significance around many of the regions being like along the river too.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like agriculture or trade stuff,
Mm.
right? Because Filipinos originally came through Louisiana
Yep.
because of trade.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, river cities were much bigger. River and railroad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before airlines were so popular for shipping.
All right. So I guess we can just keep adding questions to the bottom, and then shall we let our respective contacts, so I'll let Min and Nancy know to refer to that as just kind of like a heads up.
Yeah, maybe I can format it so it's easy for them to see. Like, here are the draft questions.
Mm-hmm.
Did any of them respond with questions that they wanted to be asked? Because I know you asked Ben that, but if there were any that they like appreciated being asked.
We had asked Larissa about that when we met with her, and I think some of the themes that Larissa mentioned are in the top of the proposed panel questions. Actually, it was interesting. So, Sophia, I was telling Laura and Justine that I watched the film with my dad this weekend. And it was just a really moving experience. But then I was like, so Dad, we're having a panel about this week. Do you have any questions for the filmmakers? And the one question he asked was like, how did she get all that information? And how did she get in touch with all those people? So maybe that was actually one of the things that I just typed in too, about how do we access these resources for those of us that want to explore something like this for our family?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I'm going to put that in since I just said that.
Yes, put it under Larissa's name. Here, I made a spot for you.
Oh, thank you, Laura.
Yeah, especially, I mean, you know, you see all these ancestry websites for people who want to like trace their roots back to Europe or whatever. But yeah, for Asians and Asian Americans in the United States, what does that look like if you didn't have generations of people all the way back?
I am part of a Japanese American Facebook blah 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 group, genealogy group. And genealogy people are fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a whole level.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like, there's just not as much. Okay, we can keep adding to this. I have to go meet with the dean in a few minutes. But I feel like, thank you, you helped me in my question for Ben, because I was like,
yeah, I'll send you the video he created for us, and he actually mentioned Far East Deep South because he probably got my asks mixed up and thought that he was in part responding to the film. So you probably already have some good questions already baked in there.
Perfect. That sounds good. And then I think for Professor Zhao, if there are some additional questions that you all can think of, that would be great. I feel like I've read something she wrote, but it's been a long time. Anyway, it's fine.
If they're not already in there in the planning document, if there are any social handles or tags that you would like me to use as I could live tweet it and, you know, things like that, or promote it, can you drop them in there so I can make sure that we tag those?
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. Sophia, something that I talked with them about, you know how Show was saying that she was going to watch it this weekend on Canopy?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if for the folks who registered on our end, just letting them know, like, you have two options. You can watch it ahead of time and just join at 7:30, 7:45. And here's how you can watch it. Like,
Yeah.
you have to have a login, or you can watch on PBS. And then you can also just join at 6 o'clock and get some context, and then watch it through Vimeo.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, and I might even, when I work with Evan on promoting it, to make that mention as well in the Vanderbilt digest that he puts out.
That'd be great.
Evan in my office?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Evan and I work quite well together because you all are kind of counterparts, right? Because you have your own.
Yeah, he's on my team.
Schools, yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
I feel like he's swamped because usually he's really responsive, and I can feel when he's like not as responsive. He's probably got like work up to his eyeballs, so I just sent him a reminder again this morning.
That's the sense that I get. I don't know what he's working on, but I sense that the responses to me have been slow too. So I'm like, you must be real busy.
I know, which is why we do a monthly check-in just to make sure he knows what's going on. But there's like some Unity project which he's working on too, so I think that's taking up his time. I didn't
know that he was helping with that. Okay.
I only know because the former governor and our dean are having a conversation, which I will find interesting because several of us got arrested in this governor's office because he would not expand Medicaid. So I'm wondering how much the dean is willing to like speak into these intersection of showing up in the public square and bringing your faith with you. That kind of faith, not the predominant kind of faith in the South.
That's so classic. Cool. Okay.
Right.
Got it? Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Does anything make sense anymore?
This will be great. Nope. I've been looking forward to this. It'll be really great.
It'll be very cool. Awesome. All right. And you know where to find me. Everybody, I think, has my cell phone. So maybe we'll do like kind of a quick roundup email tomorrow or Wednesday. Just like, here's cell phone numbers here. Okay, cool.
Laura, I did have a quick question for you. You had mentioned that during the talk, it would be helpful if I just also helped to monitor the comments that are coming through YouTube in case I need to flag you for any questions that might be good to forward on. How do I use a private chat to communicate with you about that, or the Google Doc, or the private chat?
You know what, actually, do you think it would be better just to stick everything onto the Google Doc and we could just like all be talking? Is that better rather than monitoring like 17 different things?
Well, part of me is worried that if we put in the private chat, then the panelists and moderators will see it and it might distract them.
It'll be distracting. Okay, let's do more of a Google Doc then.
So the four of us.
Yeah, facilitator Google Doc, I'll create something.
Though if they don't have that panel open, because it doesn't automatically open, they're not going to see it.
Well, that's true.
So it's up to you. I'm fine with either. The other thing too, I don't know if Laura mentioned this, but sometimes what we've found helpful when we do these events is